106.7 KROQ is KROQ. This is the Kevin and Bean Show live from New York City for the Grammys.
I had a big intro planned, and I feel like we shattered it with our incompetence. And now, what's the point?
Well, take two. If you want to start over, take two.
That's a song by Bleachers here on the world-famous KROQ. Jack Antonoff, a man in that band, Grammy Award-winning singer, musician, songwriter, and producer. Welcome to the Kevin and Bean Show on KROQ, sir.
Thanks for having me. I'm happy you guys are in New York.
So are we.
We're happy to be here, and I have to tell you, I was thinking about this because you played Acoustic Christmas a couple years ago with Fun.
Yeah.
And you played the Weenie Roast a couple years ago with Bleachers. Yet, for some reason, we've never had the opportunity to meet you before. This is the first Kevin and Bean appearance of Jack on the show.
But you guys are at all those shows, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's our station, our show. But like you talk to Stryker and guys like that. But
why don't you come around?
Because dicks. We're dicks.
We're basically lazy, Jack.
I think what it is you've just allowed me in now. You know, because you're like the Holy Grail, right?
Are we?
Oh, that's us. Sure it is.
Isn't that the vibe?
You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised how not true that is.
I mean,
I got in the door.
He's just picking up the vibe.
He
You
is,
guys are throwing it out.
All right.
That's
So
what's happening.
this is a big weekend for music lovers. Obviously, the Grammys, the biggest show in town, is going to be Sunday night, the 60th anniversary of the ceremony and the awards here in New York City for the first time in 15 years. That's why we're here. When you're a little kid, being a music lover as you were, the Grammys are the furthest thing from your mind. That's on your radar. That's not something you dream
it's
about,
stupid.
is it?
It's impossible.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
So what was it?
Not even close.
And how many Grammys have you won now, Jack?
Three.
He doesn't know.
Question mark?
Question mark?
And what's
How many times have you been nominated?
I won the Kevin and Bean Award for Best Sandwich.
What did that feel like when they called Fun's name for the Best New Artist Grammy? Tell me what that feels like.
Okay, all jokes aside.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's very few things that happen in your life where you think, well, no one could take that, no matter what happens.
Right.
The first time I had that feeling in my career was when I had my first CD. I didn't have a label or anything, but we pressed the CD, and I thought, okay, if the world explodes or if I never write another song, this happened.
Mm-hmm.
Second
I
time,
made a thing.
Yeah.
Right.
And you get that feeling every time you write a song, but then there's these things, they're like almost like grandma things. That's how I categorize them.
Grandma things.
Things your grandmother would be proud of.
Okay.
Like
yeah.
if I go to Iowa and 1,000 people come to the show, that really, that's what I want.
Right.
But it doesn't mean anything to my grandmother.
Right.
If I'm on Conan O'Brien show,
Yeah.
that's something she can tell her friends.
Yeah.
So when they called the name and we won that first one, I kind of had that like ultimate explosion of grandma feeling where I was like, no matter what happens, that happened.
That happened.
Yeah.
Nothing will change. That's cool.
You came up as a punk rocker?
Yeah.
Is that fair to say? You were on
Totally.
Drive-Thru, right?
But even before that, there was an amazing scene in New Jersey. It was sort of post, like hardcore in D.C. And then kind of drifted up the coast, and it was a great vibe. Bands like Lifetime were happening in New Jersey, and in the late 90s, I started to become aware of it. And, it started with like Fat Records and NoFX, and then it became local for me. And that's where I learned how to play music.
Would the 18-year-old Jack Antonoff have been stunned to see what you're doing today and the kind of music that you love today?
Well, I've always, it's weird. So I think I'm an interesting generation because I grew up in the early 90s. So I have no cynicism or anger towards the mainstream because when I was a kid, Kurt Cobain was the biggest.
Yeah, the mainstream was freaking awesome when you were a kid.
Smashing Pumpkins were putting out Siamese Dream. Pearl Jam was changing the world. Green Day was just happening. I loved Space Hog, and Weezer was making some of the best albums ever. So I'd turn on the radio, and I didn't have this feeling of like, oh, the world sucks.
Right.
I was like, it was an amazing time. Woodstock 94, I mean, look at that lineup. So then when music got really bad in the mainstream a couple years later, I had drifted away, and I was really into underground music, so I didn't care because I had stopped listening to what was going on in the mainstream, and I was only interested in stuff in New Jersey. And then when I started to drift back, I never had this. It's weird to be in like indie scenes and punk rock scenes, but also not have a hatred towards mainstream. I think that's like a very brief,
That is strange, yeah.
very brief thing if you were lucky enough to be there from 91 to 95.
And we live in
Which
a
you
world,
guys remember? It was
we sure do, yeah. And you live in a world now where your band Bleachers, for instance, can be on anyone's playlist. A hip hop guy can love Bleachers, right? A hard rock guy can love Bleachers. I mean, I think it's healthy that all these categories have kind of bled together a little bit.
Well, I think it's just us admitting who we've always been.
Yeah, agreed.
We've always been that way. You look at I go through my parents' record collection. It's Coltrane, it's Blood, Sweat, and Tears, it's Nina Simone, it's the Beatles. Everyone's always had this crazy playlist. I remember, and you know what? Back to the early '90s, we kind of had that for a second too, where it was like pop radio was like Snoop Dogg into Nirvana.
Yeah, it was crazy.
So I
That was
think,
crazy.
Yeah, I think we're just getting a little bit closer to who we've always been.
There was a time, though, in the 90s where KROQ was in a box, and if we played something outside that box, people would go crazy. It's KROQ, it's not K-Rap.
Yeah.
And we're very, very narrow.
It's KROQ, it's
You're
not
right.
K-Rap.
And
We've
then
heard
we
that a million times,
Well,
Jack.
scenes were more of a thing.
Yes.
A lot of the kids I know nowadays, and just from being out there and playing, no one gives a crap.
Right.
When I was growing
Right.
up, it was like, even in New Jersey, it was like, are you into the Jersey hardcore scene, into the Jersey pop punk scene, into the oi scene, into like the post-hardcore thing? Like, everything was very fragmented. And if you listen to this, you couldn't listen to this. And it was the same thing in mainstream music.
And that's when we started. We would play one song that's sort of outside that box, and people would freak out. And we go, you know what? You'll be fine. We'll get back
Yeah.
to the Red Hot Chili Peppers in 1 minute. So listen to this song. It's pretty cool.
I remember that with Sublime. I remember my
Yes.
friends being like, "What is this? This sounds like pot music or something." Like,
Well, that's pretty accurate.
They weren't wrong.
we want Bush. But I don't think that's the case anymore. I think people are
Agreed.
wide open.
Completely different.
When you write a song, Jack, in your mind as you're writing the song, do you envision what style of music that's going to be, or is it a decision you make later once you've got the lyrics and the melody together to decide what kind of music it's going to be?
I think they're separate.
Okay.
So I think a great song is a great song. And if you don't have a great song, you got nothing.
Do you think a great song, this is just my opinion,
Yeah.
and I don't know, a great song could be performed in any genre? If it's a great song,
Absolutely.
you could do it punk,
I think
you could do it light rock, you could do it country.
Ultimate example of that is Johnny Cash doing Hurt by Nine Inch Nails.
Yeah, true.
And we see it over and over again where a song gets redefined and you realize that the music and the lyrics and the sentiment, production is also everything. Because
Of course.
that's the moment when you take a feeling and you actually match it with a sound, and that's the ultimate magic. So, when you hear, like anything, any great moment, you think of Smashing Pumpkins Tonight, the sentiment of that song and matching it with that huge orchestra and
Right.
the orchestral drums is perfect. If you did it any other way, it wouldn't do it justice. But they are separate, and you don't want to, without both, you're just missing something.
When you go into that home studio, and I feel like I've been a fly on the wall in that studio so much because you've allowed a lot of access.
Yeah, I want people to feel like they can see where it happens.
When you go in there, do you just go in there like a guy would go to a job with his head empty and just sit down and start noodling around or start writing something down and look for inspiration to hit you, or is it just hard work and you just grind through it until something starts to show itself?
It's both. The truth is, when I go in there, I think the best way to describe it is that it's a very powerless process, which people don't.
You say powerless?
Powerless. They think it's this all like candles and heroin, I think, is the
Right.
idea that film and television is.
I hope you've written a song called Candles and Heroin. That's a good title.
Coming in single, guys. Candles and heroin. But no, you're like you're trying to like capture these feelings. So you go and you sit and you mess around and you just touch this keyboard, maybe that'll spark a feeling. Write something down. You're just trying to grab it, and you spend your life in there trying to find it, and you just wait for those little moments.
I think that's what we're most fascinated with. You can find good singers, you can find good production, but the people who can take nothing except for a feeling and turn it into a song that's magic.
That's magic.
That's always what I've cared about the most. Like, I've never cared too much for for example, like singing competition shows. Like,
right.
My mom will watch it, and I'll be like, "Who cares? They're great. Lots of people can be great." Or
right.
like watching some amazing drummer or guitar player on YouTube. It's like it feels more attainable than the insane magic of capturing a feeling.
Right. And you also think about your favorite artists, and you go, "My favorite artist would never make it on American Idol or on this show or whatever."
You kidding me? Tom Waits on American Idol. They'd be like, they would like laugh him out of the.
He'd be one of the ones in the early season where they would make fun of him.
But that's the irony of that is all my favorite singers, I call it style singer versus singer. Mm-hmm. We all like style singers.
Agreed.
We think we like singers, which is like someone that'll like blow your face off with their talent, but it's so much more exciting to hear like Leonard Cohen mumble over a track, or like Trent Reznor.
Yeah, agreed.
You just want to hear a distinct voice.
Yes. Before we take a break, Jack Antonoff is here on the Kevin and Bean Show. By the way, nominated for 2 Grammys this Sunday, including Album of the Year
Not
for
bad.
your work with your friend Lord on the album Melodrama.
That's 2 more than us. I'll tell you that.
You guys didn't get any this year?
No, we got none. We were snubbed.
We got
You
shut out.
usually do, right? You
We usually get about a dozen.
about a dozen.
Do you have? Is there a song? Is there an answer to this question? A song that you are most proud of having written? Is there an answer to that?
Yes.
Oh.
And we'll reveal it when we get back.
Yes.
Whoa!
Nice.
We'll be right back on
Tease.
KROQ.
In New York City for the Grammys, I always feel lesser than when we're with somebody talented.
I know.
I always feel like I'm just a slug.
You are just a slug.
Okay. That's accurate.
Jack Antonoff is our guest here on the Kevin and Bean Show. You get dressed up to go to the Grammys when you're nominated, like you might end up on TV Sunday night?
Yeah, I like
Put on a suit?
Yeah. I
look
don't
at
mind.
you.
I don't mind putting on a suit. I first part of my life went to a ton of bar mitzvahs.
Okay.
Got to wear a suit a lot. From then 17 to 27, no one ever asked me to put a suit on again. So I'm happy
So now
to
it's
do
fun.
It. Yeah.
Take your mom or take a date?
I'm taking my sister.
Oh, good for you.
Which is somewhere, it's in between.
In between,
Yeah.
right? Exactly. Don't date your sister, Jack.
I'm not going to.
He didn't say date. He's just taking it to the Grammys.
We asked before the break because you're a guy who has written and co-written dozens of songs that our audience loves and knows. Is there one you are prouder of than any other?
Outside of any Bleacher songs. So you're talking about a co-write song.
Sure.
The song I'm most proud of outside of anything that is mine is the Lord song Greenlight.
As well you should be, my
that's
friend.
so good.
That was literally my favorite song of last year.
Yeah.
The
literally.
specific reason is there's songs that I mean the world to me that I've done, but that song makes so little sense the way it was constructed and happened by such a series of accidents.
What does that mean? How?
It's just like the way the chords work, like when it goes into that sort of like almost like Euro disco-y part.
Right.
There's an interesting chord change that shouldn't work but does.
Oh, that's strange.
And there was no reason, there was no inspiration for it. There was no it came from nowhere. And
is it you and Lord in a room just throwing words at each other and seeing if something is worth writing down to put in the verse?
we were just sitting in my studio and just started piecing that thing together. I kind of don't even really remember how it happened.
It's alchemy is what it is.
But
She's an old soul, isn't
it's
she?
goddamn magic.
But the other one that I'm actually kind of insanely proud of, also she worked on with me too, which is Don't Take the Money. But all that all happened in this kind of, and maybe that's the reason why I feel so much pride too about those songs is they came from this very organic place. Because sometimes you have a song you want to write,
Right.
and then sometimes the song just happens.
Are you guys impressed with how reserved I have been, how cool and how calm I have been to not even bring her up yet?
Yes, please don't.
I
Let's
have
talk
to.
about Lord some more.
No, I
Let's
have
talk
to.
about Lord some more. We love Lord. Let's talk about her some
Let's
more.
talk about Bean.
Let's not, because then he's going to talk about...
Let's learn about Bean, because at the end of the day, right, the audience knows the voice, but do they know the real
The audience
Bean?
knows exactly what Bean's about to ask.
Look, let me just, by way of
I have
introducing...
some questions for you guys.
Say, you know how, when you have a friend who's into somebody,
Yeah.
but they're way too into them.
Like a celebrity or like a friend?
singer. Let's say a singer.
Okay.
So...
Whoever are you thinking
Right.
of?
So they talk about him nonstop.
Because they love.
Right, but the rest of us don't love as much. So then all of that conversation makes
Yeah.
us turn on that person.
Jack, I've turned them against Taylor Swift, is what Kevin is
like
trying to say.
I didn't care before
Because I'm a crazy...
He won't stop talking about her. Now I can't stand her.
Fan. I always go to see her. I love her so much. Here's my phone case. Did you write this line on the back of my phone case, or did Taylor write that?
Taylor did write that, but I did do this.
I'm sorry, but the old Taylor can't come to the phone right now, is what it says on my phone case.
So you're ruining her for other people.
Yes.
It's all love.
It doesn't matter. You're ruining her for
Bean
us.
have a history of ruining.
Of course.
Who else?
He's
What other
obsessive.
artists?
He's obsessive. So whatever he's obsessed with, he won't stop talking
he has
about.
ruined the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald.
How
for
dare
me.
you? Here's my Twitter avatar too, Jack.
I can't.
This is not a joke.
It's not a joke. No, I
Have you
adore
ever
her.
met her?
It's not.
I don't want to meet her.
Oh, really?
I don't want to meet her. I had the opportunity to. I've been offered the opportunity
But
to.
you-
Well, here's the thing.
Explain to people Jack's
Your
connection with
your
her.
heroes will only disappoint you.
Yes,
But
right.
I hear that that's not the case with Taylor. From everyone who's ever met her, they say they love her.
You know
They
who
go,
didn't disappoint me was Bruce.
You just met Bruce Springsteen.
No, I met
Bruce
him. I met him.
Valanche.
I tweeted that.
Okay.
Bruce Valanche,
That's a great poll.
Bruce Ben Baccarat from the Mary Bamford Show.
You just tweeted that you met Bruce Springsteen and your life will never be the same. How did it happen?
No, I tweeted. So when Chance the Rapper goes, I met Kanye West. I'm never going to fail.
Right.
I was listening to that, and so I tweeted, I met Bruce Springsteen. I'm never going to fail, because that's my version.
Gotcha.
So
Sure.
Chance is Kanye from.
How
This
did you meet Bruce?
I opened for Bruce. No, but I met him. I opened for him, and then this is crazy. I met him at the White House. Which
What?
is a bizarre story.
Like, what's
By the way,
happening
hold on. The old White House. Okay, just to be clear.
All right, the real White House.
Yeah. Because actually, so the 8 years before this, I had been to the White House a number of times because Fun played on the lawn. Fun played the second inauguration.
Why was President Obama so into your band?
I never got the chance to ask
Who knows?
him.
Who cares?
Okay, all right.
I just
when
was
they
so
invite
bad
you,
at
you
it.
go. Okay.
And I'm a real Biden head also. I like that guy. And then I do a bunch of work with LGBTQ charities. I have my own organization I work with, so I did a panel there for that. And then all that culminated. The last time I was there was this final party that Obama threw, which was...
Oh, right, and he had Mr. Springsteen come and play for the White House staff. I remember that.
Every one I've ever idolized in my life was in that room. But Bruce is the number one. And so I actually had this funny experience where, like, there were all these people that on any given day I would, like, die to even be in a room with, and I was just like, get out of my way, like make room, like Bruce is there, like move.
Now, were you afraid to meet him because don't meet your heroes?
No, I had met him before.
You had him, okay.
Fun had opened for him in Dallas. So I'd met him twice, and he's you know what? And I think you could say the same about your hero. If your hero is not doing a bit or an act, then it's good to meet them. Because
that makes sense.
That's why I've always loved Springsteen my whole life, is because he's writing about his flaws, he's discussing his flaws, he's discussing his triumphs, he's painting a picture of a whole life, all the horrible.
That's the exact same reason why I like Dave Grohl, and he's the exact same thing, which is he will not disappoint.
And have you met him?
Yeah, of course, many times, and he's great. But
here's the question this is a conversation we often have on this show, because Kevin, you've been in this situation so many times where you've run into somebody you admire and you just feel like, I have nothing to say that is going to be useful, worthwhile of that person's time.
I like this person so much, I don't want to waste their time with whatever nonsense I can come up with saying. You know what I mean? You just feel like...
It's when I say thanks, though. I say that to people all the time.
Thanks.
Like I met John Dunnerall from the Mountain Goats, and I was just like, thanks for the songs. I feel like people get really like obsessed with like having to say something quote unquote worthy, like my cousin went to blah 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 and married someone who's from New Jersey to me, and I'm like, I don't care. Like millions of people from New Jersey, like it's so much cooler.
But when
if,
you say thanks to Bruce, though, he's heard that a billion times.
No. But my opinion of that is people like him. Thanks is never a negative. Okay. Stuff I come up with to say is a negative, but if I would just take your advice and say thanks,
I
like what you do,
or it's, you know what's so nice is when people get specific. Like I saw something the other day who referenced like a deep cut on a new album of mine and talked about something in the production in it, and it was so cool.
Because you knew they were paying very specific attention to the stuff you did.
You get it.
Yeah.
You know, like where on the flip side, if someone's like, it's that guy.
Right. What if I said to Mel Brooks, who's my hero, I really want to eat soup and watch Jeopardy with you?
I think that's awesome.
Right?
Because
he'd have to do it.
Well, no, I don't think you would do it.
There's a difference between being awesome and actually following through.
The DNA of what you're saying is your work makes me feel like we're friends.
Thank you.
That's what you're saying.
Wow, you say that so much better than we do.
Dr. Jack is in session, you guys.
Yeah.
Lord.
Can I get your phone number? And next time I meet like Magic Johnson, I'll go, what should I say to him?
Dude?
Oh, Magic's the coolest.
He is.
What did you say to him, Kevin?
I bumped into him, and I wasn't aware he was at the party I was at. Okay. So it was a complete surprise. I didn't have time to plan anything.
Like, Magic!
So I said, like this, you're great.
That's great.
No.
I think it's great.
I mean, he smiled and he walked by, and I hated myself from that moment on.
It's a lot better than like in 1993. I was at blah, 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 and I saw,
keep it short, I guess.
My Uncle Joey saw you, and I have a sign.
Jack Antonoff, question. Now that you are so successful with so many different artists that you co-write and co-produce, and you are, but I'm just saying, is it hard for you to now pick from all the people that want to work with you, because you only have 24 hours in a day? You can't work with everybody that wants to work with you at this point, right?
Well, here's the weird thing that I always try to tell people, because if I ever like Google myself, which is not something I do often, but if I do it, one thing I notice that everyone sort of paints me as like some sort of workaholic, and I actually don't do that much.
Oh. It seems like you do, because your songs are all over whatever radio station I'm listening to.
Which I'm very grateful for. But
he's saying, I don't do that much, but everything I do is a smash hit.
All I do is win. Okay.
Quality over quantity.
All I do is win. No, what I meant is it just lined up weird. So like it was Bleachers, Lord, St. Vincent, Taylor, and Pink this year, and everyone has this idea of like everyone's like, how'd you do that one year? And it's like I didn't. Like it
just all came out.
Yeah. It all sort of crystallized at the same moment. But I get called by a lot of people, but I don't like to work with a lot of people. I really love working with Ella, and I really love Annie, who's St. Vincent, who's the best. Do you guys play the record?
Yes.
And that New York song, by the way. So. Did you do that one?
Yeah, we worked on that album together, and so it's funny. It's without saying what you said.
I knew you weren't saying that, but
it does. But it is funny when you. It's funny any time in life when you realize there's a vibe where you're like, well, it's actually not. I work like crazy. But I know tons of people who are just in sessions every day with tons of different people and grinding it out.
Right.
And I do a different thing, which is more like these deep personal relationships and these long meditative. Like in Melodrama took 2 years.
Yeah.
Annie's record we were working on for a year. The Bleachers album took 2 years. They just happened to all come out at the same time.
What a year for Jack Antonoff, and you are going to be potentially winning the Album of the Year Grammy. Which you've already won once before, right?
Yeah, and can I say something?
Yes, please.
When I was a kid and people would be like, it's an honor just to be nominated, I'd be like, shut up. But it really is.
Yeah, I can see that.
You don't think about anything else.
If you
Honestly, I can see that.
But if you don't win, you are a loser, though, just by definition, right?
I will be that.
You'll be that loser?
I would love to be that loser.
You'd be happy to be that guy? Hey, if you're ever out in Los Angeles, would you stop by our studio?
Yeah.
We love talking music with you.
You know who so at your studio, there's a man who... he lets you in the gate.
Mm-hmm. Charles Connor.
He's a drummer.
The best drummer.
He was in a very famous band, right?
He
plays for Little Richard.
Little Richard.
Yeah.
Okay, so every time I come to KROQ, I see him.
He's a legend.
And it's so cool because like I'm sure you didn't plan it this way, but to have the person who lets you into KROQ.
We didn't, and we could talk to him for hours.
He's amazing.
Yeah.
And by the way, he also played for Sam Cooke and like
James Brown, by the way.
Brown.
Yeah,
I mean, it's unbelievable the life that man has led.
But do stop by.
Yeah, come see us next time you're in town.
I would love to talk about
good
music.
Good luck on Sunday night.
Good luck in New York. Are you guys fending well? Is it? Do you hate it? Do you like it?
We love it.
It's too cold here.
Love it.
I think it's a great city.
Bean hates to travel, so that's bad.
No, I'm happy to be here, but it's just too cold. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
you can agree with that.
It's all good.
Bean his way across the country on a plane or a train.
Jack, good luck Sunday night. Come see us in L.A.
Thank you guys.
We appreciate your time today.